So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with the series of going through some big mark questions taken from some past higher GCSE exam papers. Now as always there'll be a copy of the questions for you to download and have an attempt at before watching this video, which I strongly recommend you do. Or you can simply pause the video as we go through each question, have an attempt at it and then unpause as we go through it. So before we get started working through these questions, let's just have a look at what topics each question refers to. Now obviously in terms of the calculator non-calculator aspect of these, obviously not every single question on a calculator paper involves using a calculator. So where I've put calculator is basically where I've used a calculator to answer the question, and where I've put non-calculator is the fact that I didn't find it necessary for me to use a calculator on those questions. So let's get started on these. Now again, if you've not had an opportunity to print out the question, then all you need to do is just simply pause the video, have a go at the question and then unpause as we go through the answers. So let me just make that a little bit bigger so it comes up on the screen. So question 1 says that a home gym takes a maximum load of 145 kilograms of weighted plates. Each weight plate is 10 kilograms to the nearest kilogram. Work out the greatest number of plates that can be safely loaded on the gym, and you must show your working out. So for this question, what we need to do first is look at what's been rounded, what hasn't. Now here, the maximum load has not been rounded, so that's going to be fixed at 145 kilograms. Now for this, what we need to work out is basically upper and lower limits of the weight plates. So here we're looking at if each plate is 10 kilograms, then the upper and lower bound are going to be 9.5 to 10.5. And now what we then need to do is look at the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is going to be the total weight of the load is going to be 145, that's fixed, but worst case is having the heaviest type of plate, so that's going to be divided by 10.5, and if we work that out on our calculator we get an answer of around about 13.8, and rounded that down we get an answer of 13. Now it is really important that you show your full working out, so it's really important that you show that you've calculated the upper and lower bounds, you've showed your calculation, you've then worked out the answer as a decimal form, and then used your common sense to then establish, do I round down or do I round up? And in this case we've rounded down. Moving on to question 2, which refers to surds, and it says simplify fully root 8 over root 2. Now one of the rules of surds is that when we're dividing both the numerator and the denominator, we can just combine the two. So this is going to be 8 over 2, and 8 over 2 is going to be 4, so it's root 4, and that gives us an answer of 2. Then with question B, it says work out the value of k. So we've got root 6, root 5 times root 4 times root 3 times root 2 times root 1, and that equals something root 5. So looking at each of these surds, the only ones that we can simplify are going to be root 4 and root 1. So then if I then change that for a 2 and that for a 1, now to look at this, what we then need to do is just multiply each of these surds together. So we've got 6 times 5 times 3 times 2. Well, 6 times 5 is 30, times 3 is 90, times 2 is 180, and 2 times 1 is 2, so that's going to give me an answer of 2 root 180 equals k root 5. Now what I need to do here is I need to simplify this root 180, and I also know that 5 is going to be a factor, so if I then do 180 divided by 5, it gives me an answer of 36. So this is going to be equal to 2 times root 36 times root 5 equals k root 5. And then simplifying this, we get 2 times 6, which is going to give me 12, so it's 12 root 5 equals k root 5. And then comparing the coefficients, we know that k has got to equal 12, so here I can write k equals 12. Now moving on to question 3, it says ABC and EDC are straight lines. AD equals ED, and for question A it's asking us to work out the size of angle AED and give a reason for your answer. Now for this, it is really important when you're starting with these questions to first establish which angle you're actually trying to find. So we're trying to find AED, so it's this angle that we need to find. So let's have a look at this now. As you can see from the circle, we have got a cyclic quadrilateral. And if I just highlight that quadrilateral, what do we know about cyclic quadrilaterals? That opposite angles add up to 180. So here we've got 180 minus 110 equals 70 degrees. So the answer then is 70 degrees, and the reason for that is because opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180 degrees. Then for B, it then says work out the size of angle X. So angle X is here. So let's have a look at what we know. So we know that angle X, so looking at this, we can see that the triangle AED is an isosceles triangle. So if this angle here is 70, that means that this angle here is going to be 70, and we can therefore work out what this angle here is going to be. So it's going to be 180 minus 70 minus 70, which equals 40 degrees. So this here is going to be 40. Then from this, we can then work out what this angle here is going to be, and that's going to be 180 minus 40 minus 45, which equals 95 degrees. And so that's 95. And then we can also then work out what this angle is, because angle's on a straight line. So it's 180 minus 110, which equals 70 degrees. So then to work out X, so if I just write B, X equals 180 minus the two angles that we know from the triangle, so minus 70 minus 95, which gives me an answer of 15 degrees. Moving on to question 4, it says you are given that 1 knot equals 1 nautical mile per hour. 2 ships leave a port at the same time. Ship A sails at 10 knots on a bearing of 035 and ship B sails at 15 knots on a bearing of 270. It says calculate the distance between the two ships after 2 hours. So for this, what we need to first of all note is how far each of those ships have travelled. So here ship A is going to be, well, 10 knots is equal to 1 nautical mile per hour. So that's going to be 20. It's going to travel in 2 hours, so 10 nautical miles per hour. And ship B, so that's going to be, so let's just write that there. So I'm just going to call it 20 miles. And ship B, travelling at 15 knots for 2 hours, is going to be 30 miles, and they're nautical miles. So then if I then just quickly draw a little diagram of what that actually looks like. So this is the port. Ship A is over here, and that's 20. Ship B is over here, and that's 30. And working out what each of those angles are going to be, so we can see that it's going to be a non-right angle triangle. There's north. This angle here is 35, and this is a right angle, so that's 90. So then this combined angle is going to be 125 degrees, and this is what I need to find. So therefore I'm going to use the cosine rule. So labeling this up, I've got A, capital A, B and C. So here I've got x squared equals 30 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 20 times 30 times cos 125. And if I type that all into my calculator, I get an x squared value of 1988.29 blah blah blah, and then square root that answer, and I get an answer of 44.6. So here I can write 44.6, and that's been rounded to 1 decimal place. And finally, moving on to question 5, it says the gradient of the line OR is 7/4, PQ is perpendicular to OR, and P is the point 14, 0. And the question is asking us to work out the equation of line PQ, giving our answer in the form of AX plus BY equals C, where A, B and C are integers. Now, to find the equation of a straight line, which PQ is, what we need to do is first of all find out the gradient and a point that it goes through. So here we can see that we've got our point, which is 14, 0, and we then need to work out the gradient. So the gradient of PQ, as it is perpendicular to OR means that the gradient is going to be minus 1 over 7 over 4. Now when you're doing the reciprocal of a fraction, all you need to do is just simply flip the fraction, and because we're doing it by minus 1, it's going to be minus 4 over 7. So that is my value of m. Then using the coordinate of p, this is going to be my x1, this is going to be my y1. I'm going to use the equation of a straight line of y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Then simply substituting those numbers in, I get y minus 0 equals minus 4 over 7 x minus 14. Then if I simplify that, I get y equals minus 4 over 7 x minus 14. I can then take this 7 over to the side, so I end up with 7y equals minus 4 x minus 14, and then 7y, expanding the brackets, get minus 4x plus 56. Then taking this 4x over to the side, I end up with 4x plus 7y equals 56, and there is my final answer. Now if I wanted to, I could use y equals mx plus c. So here, using m as minus 4 over 7 and x and y as being 14 and 0, I get 0 equals minus 4 over 7 multiplied by 14 plus c, in which then that cancels with that to make 2, so I get 0 equals minus 8 plus c, so c equals 8. And then from this, what I can then do is substitute this back in there, so I've got y equals minus 4 over 7 x plus 8, and because they want us to write it in this form, I multiply everything by 7, so I get 7y equals minus 4x plus 56, and then again take the 4x over to the side, so I end up with the same answer of 4x plus 7y. I don't know why I've wrote 4y there. Done it again. And let's use the right colour, and we've got 7y equals 56, and we get to the answer eventually, and there we go.